Episode 1, show where I basically take what I do on Facebook and put it into a radio show, which I think is just a lot more fun because I hate sitting here typing and doing all this stuff. So I'd rather just kind of like go through it and just like maybe talk about what I feel. I'm not gonna like just go down verbatim because because of you guys, it's actually foolish. So this is my way of giving you one, accumulating what I see and giving it back to you. So today's first thing, if you guys probably are already annoyed by, is how much of my life is consumed by the culture of hip-hop. And that's a negative way of putting it. I like to say that I get overheated, and because I don't have a fan going.
Are you overheated?
Yeah. Oh man. But so yeah, anyway, but we can still go. So the first trial run I was trying to do this video, I wanted to I was kind of like just trying to get my mind off ish, and I've always been like annoyed by radio and all the stuff that gets put on there. So I was like, I'm just gonna go on and kind of go on a rant, so to speak. So that's what I did, and it ended up being too long, so that episode got scratched. So I said, well, that was a good practice run, though. I liked it, but I couldn't upload it, and actually got like a half hour of like footage or whatever. So, but anyway, I decided, well, why don't you just give it another shot and like put a little bit more thought and more resources into it, and actually like maybe make it something that people want to see. And with me, I got the hat of the Jimmy variety, James Alexander. And I don't know, I'm assuming that my friends kind of know about me, but maybe not everybody knows about you. I know some people know about you.
Some people do not know the right things about me. See, one thing I don't give a fuck about is your opinion. So
it's so well stated and documented, you'd think, by now.
I mean, if you misunderstood something that you saw on Facebook or maybe YouTube, possibly YouTube, because I'd be talking shit on that YouTube. And if you got that somehow mixed up with how I am in real life, then you should talk to me personally.
Yeah, so. I think that's a good thing to like understand. Is like some people call it like a window, like we hide behind, but in reality, like for people that are on the internet, it's like what that anonymous character always says, like you give a man a mask, he'll tell the truth, because he can't. Because one of the things when you speak the truth is sometimes you get backlash for it. People. You say things that people don't want to hear, and then they got it out for you, which is not healthy.
Yeah.
Okay, so now everybody knows that you don't give a fuck, Jimmy. I'm gonna actually give you a proper introduction. Thank you. Interjection. So the reason why I have James on the quote unquote show, podcast, whatever, is because I wanted this first show to be more about me, so that people who maybe just know me on Facebook and don't really know me need to know kind of what who I am. So so that way if I say something and you like who I am, at least maybe you'll like what I'm talking about. But if you already don't like me, then you can just already fuck off from the get-go. So I'm actually trying to save you a lot of time. So if you don't even like what you're hearing in this episode, then honestly you don't even have to watch. Nobody's trying to tell you to watch. This is more of a therapy session for people. I want people to come on and be able to talk about bullshit. Just rant about, when was the last time you just sat down and complained about ish? People always say, quit complaining. Sometimes you just got to sit down, get it all. Nobody else wants to hear you complain. Mm-hmm. I know you're just tired of hearing me complain. So that's what the show's about. And today we're complaining about the state of hip-hop. How ironic and cliche. But it really is just something that people who are really dedicated to the craft and the culture have to wake up every day seeing their art and their craft
destroyed,
sodomized,
molested.
Yeah, it's really bad. And we're not exaggerating. Like if your kid was on a billboard, being humiliated, you'd feel like, think about how you'd feel, and that's how we have to feel
unless you were getting paid. If you're getting paid for it, then it wouldn't be so bad, and that kind of ties in exactly.
Which is another point,
with what we're talking about here.
Yeah. So anyway, getting into what we were talking about, my last episode, my first episode that was supposed to be never happened. My first video was to review the top 40 songs on 94.9, and just kind of give my thoughts on them. And at first what I thought, I was just gonna sit and rant about crap music, but the first song actually turned out to be really cool. It was this song, Macklemore, and Ryan Lewis, Can't Hold Us. I think the right thing to do is just play it, just a snippet. And one thing I like about this video is that it's super. I mean, you know, he's on a boat, but it's a pirate ship. You know, it's not like this monotonous material going to club. You got a fat ride. He's got a fucking. He's on a pirate ship.
It seems like a story, you know.
Yeah.
A setting, a place.
Yeah, it's got weight. You know.
I'm not digging the auto tune right off the bat, but hopefully.
Well, this is just chorusing. This ain't him. I don't think. Does Michael? I don't think he. That's an auto tune. No, but hold on. This ain't even the song. Oh, yes, it is. But if you read the lyrics to this song, it's just that standard where he talks about himself, but it's not about like monotonous material. Like if you really read it, he's got some b-boy, obviously some shitty b-boy, so you know he ain't selling out and just like getting the best one. So it's probably some off the street guy, you know, say, hey, you need to be in my video. So it shows he's a pretty cool guy. You know, that song's dope and it's got good rhythm. Now 94.9, what do they claim themselves as?
I don't know.
The Bay's number one.
The Bay's hottest number one
R&B and hip hop station.
Yeah.
And so if you're gonna have a station that says that, you better be playing hip hop, you know. Now they do. I'm not saying they don't. This isn't hip hop though. You know, his lyrics.
I think when it comes to hip hop music, has a very particular sound, and a lot of people are sometimes picky about that when it comes to the whole boom bap reference. If the drums aren't boom bap, then it's not hip hop. But I don't necessarily agree with that, even though it is a very, very important aspect to a lot of '90s golden era hip hop type music. In this song, I bet you could probably not even find a snare in here. It's like all electronic and.
But see, here's the thing: the rhythm, like that's a very pop rhythm, like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's hip hop is not that stagnant. That's a more house electro beat, which is no one's knocking that. Like it sounds good to me. Like if I heard this, like I could dance to that. But that's not exactly what hip hop is. Hip hop has a much more dynamic, I feel, rhythm. You know, I'm no musical artist. You know, does that sound about right? You know what I'm saying? So. I think genres have their own beat pattern. I think that's the best way you break genres apart is their beat pattern.
And genres aren't always, they're not always what makes it part of the genre. I think the beat isn't always what makes a hip hop beat, or the lyrics aren't always what makes hip hop.
So
hip-hop, but
we throw this word hip hop around. I think. Do you ever ask people what do you think hip hop is? I do sometimes.
I don't. But when I do, if I were to, I would expect them just to say like a song or like an artist or a CD.
Music related.
Yeah, they'll relate it. They'll relate it to one thing rather than explain exactly what it is or even ask what it is. It would just be more like a go-to, like. Oh, I think Ludacris is hip hop, or I think Chingy is hip hop, or I think Macklemore is hip hop, and there won't even be any type of discussion about the other.
Like you didn't have to say, name some hip hop artists. You wouldn't even have to say that, you know. Like you would just be like, oh, well, they're assuming that those rappers and music makers, that is what because it's locked into a genre, and that's I think the main thing that hip hop heads, sometimes called hip hop elitists, which I've been called a couple times. Which I hate that shit, dude. That really annoyed me when I've never heard that before. Yeah, hip hop elitists. Where you think hip hop is the primal. I'm not here to say hip hop is better than better than anything else, but I am here to say that hip hop has one of the deepest cultures and most diverse culture, and it has one of the deepest cultures.
And to me, I think that's what's mostly left out of a lot of people's definition is the cultural part. And when I think culture, I think community, and community has to do a lot with what hip hop is. And I think that not only appealing to your community, but also revealing, problems in different types of community. And I think what separates hip hop, from other music, or even what separates hip hop artists when they leave the hip hop genre, is when you leave the community, when you're no longer part of a circular community group, and you start more of a mass appeal type effect, then I think that is when you leave hip hop. Like I think you could do something out of the boundaries of hip hop, but as long as you're still within like a community of people that is relevant to what you're saying, then you could kind of pass that off as part of a hip hop mindset, not necessarily as a definition,
right.
you know.
Okay. Yeah. So
because when you start to leave the cultural boundaries in the community, and you start to appeal more to a mass product, then I think that's when hip hop kind of stops, because it gets watered down. Like even Red Bull BC1, that's fucking b-boy battle hip hop all the way, but I think it's produced and sold to a point where it's no longer.
Well, the thing about Red Bull though is they invest
their
in
business. They fly, make shit.
Hear me out. They invest their resources. Red Bull is really good at investing resources into the things they promote. They definitely further a lot of stuff. Like at all extreme sports, they definitely further. And like over the summer, they opened up. They made a warehouse, like a training warehouse, and they had like professional athletic trainers come and take all the previous winners and take them and put them through like a hell week, basically, of learning their body and showing different kinesthetic exercises to like really further themselves, because they those top level guys, they consider themselves athletes, and it is that the way they perform, you're definitely performing at the top of physical.
And that's all fine and dandy. I have nothing against that. I mean, Red Bull, there's plenty of things that Red Bull sponsors and co-presents that,
but it's not the rawest form. It's cut up and there's other elements of the world and what is.
Well, for me, it comes back, when I think of it, it goes back to, the motives behind it. I mean, they're not doing it to further the cultural understanding and progression of hip hop. They're doing it to make a package deal of a good product. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that's where hip hop ends. Like Red Bull BC1 is kind of like ABDC,
Okay. I think we're getting like a little bit too deep into it. People are not gonna like don't even know Red Bull, like, So I think we're getting a little bit front to that. But I think, to have to understand hip hop, you just got to know it. So we're gonna do, I guess, a basic, what is hip hop? Like we're saying it's not a genre. Then what is it? So hip hop is made up of what's known to be, what we all teach each other, is the four
elements of hip hop.
And that is what the four elements are, the four things that make it a physical thing, where it makes it an actual thing that the human mind and the human body can experience with all its many senses. It's what makes it a physical, actual thing, what it makes it is physically, beyond the metaphysical ideals. And what are they? JimmyHat.
Well, the first and most important one to me that I started out with would be emceeing. That was the very first exposure I had to hip hop.
Also known as
rapping, emceeing, lyricist, spoken word, poetry. That kind of all goes under the same.
What separates poetry from emceeing?
I mean,
the music,
right? Not a lot. Yeah, the music. I mean, the actual
which is produced
application of it, the vocal,
which is produced by the DJing part, right?
Yeah. DJing, producing.
So and DJing has its own.
Goes all into the same.
Exactly, and DJing has its all, like that's an umbrella. All these elements are umbrellas. There's many things that divulge and kind of get to a point where they're not like DJing goes into not just playing music for a party, but to creating and cutting breaks, which goes into breakdancing and b-boying, and then there's the written word, which is considered to be graffiti, taking and making beauty in one word. You add so much beauty and diversity to one word, where you see that word and it lets the human mind travel where it needs to go with that word, It doesn't force anything upon you. It lets your imagination create what you want into that. And so those are the four elements: graffitiing, emceeing, DJing, breaking. Those are the four original. Now, there was a short or whatever on Strife a couple weeks ago, and they were saying how we shouldn't limit ourselves to those four things. And I think that's right. I think there is other things that, like skateboarding. There's an element of hip hop to skateboarding, No, hear me out. So there's the four core elements that what make it, and that started right back when it started, like in the late 70s. But there's ideologies. There's the four principles. There's the four elements. Now, what are the four principles that are inside your head? It's peace, love, unity, and originally it was having fun, according to the lyrics of
Africa Bombadi.
that guy. Know his history, knows right. So, but I think it's more about respect. I think that's a fourth. But there's a fifth. I think there's other elements that you should have. You know, respect, knowledge. There's other things. It just goes along with it. So, but those things are core ideologies of life. You know, they're not. Yeah. Those aren't specific to hip-hop.
I think it's how those ideologies manifest. Because all those things can be manifest into skating, and that's skating culture,
or Buddhism,
or religion, yeah, or you know, different types of music. But I think hip hop is very, very specific. You know what I mean? Because once it was started to become a mainstream factor and a media producing industry, economic producing thing, it started to become more a widespread. That's people were giving the excuse. Yeah, it's, could be anything, everything, but really I think it's not for everyone, and it can't be anything.
Right.
It's a very, very, I mean, if you want to break it down into fucking economic terms, it's a very, the product is for only a small target audience. You can't just go to somewhere and be like, hey, this is hip hop. You can do this too. That's not always true, because you have to also come in with a certain mindset. You can't adopt that mindset is what I'm trying to say, I guess.
I'm like going through your Facebook, like making all your conversations like hella like
go back. Those are new lyrics I just put out today.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there you go.
See, these jobs we hold are modern molds of the slave ships. Work them to the bone, destroy the home if they say shit. Land of the free, tell me what your fucking base is. Bomb yourself and blame them to get support from the racists.
Yeah. From the mouth himself. Alright, so those are the four elements, those are the four ideologies. Any real hip hop head would be like, dude, what is Chris and Jimmy doing talking about this? So this is kindergarten level stuff. Like, this is just these are the fundamentals. These are the ABCs of hip hop right here. And this is what you gotta learn. If you don't know these, then you have a shitty foundation, and your life of hip hop, what you know as hip hop, is gonna be skewed and misrepresented.
I think it kind of goes down as the people that do know what's up are kind of listening to us and saying like, well, yeah, duh.
Yeah.
And the people who don't just either will never get there and understand, or they just don't fucking care.
Yeah. Well, I think a real positive, hip hop, because hip hop is about positivity. I don't care, like that. You gotta be positive. You gotta.
Yeah, I'm positive all the time, but fuck, dude, if it comes down to it, I could just bang, word someone into retirement.
Nice, I like that.
Yeah.
But exactly. See, that's the power of words. I think that is a great beauty. Like, you can physically harm somebody with words.
Oh yeah. Like sticks and stones will break your bones, but words will fucking make you slit your own throat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. And that was actually that is one lesson I learned from my Christian private school that I walked away with. Like, they said, they said that, and like that doesn't. Words have way more, and I think that was like one thing if I walked away with one lesson that was, I feel is true, that I hold myself to today, that. And so that's the beauty of it. We shouldn't, because words, like, if your words are attacking someone, that just means they have a weak mind. Like, they don't, what I'm saying, they don't have the capacity to not have that. Like, there's nothing anybody can say to me that would ever make me do that.
Hip hop.
Yeah. So that's it's a more positive thing. To be able to say what you want to do instead of doing it necessary. That's a form of release. And I think that also has to go directly. What I really wanted to get this episode about was hip hop, the music. And I wanted to say, like, make first aware, hip hop is not just music. It is one of four elements that it is. So, and I wanted to go into the music on technicality, how accurate is the music and how accurate is the lyrics, because the NSYNC should have a positive message. If you possess all and represent all the ideologies of what hip hop is, and that's peace, love, unity, having fun, all that jargon, it's going to your lyrics are going to reflect your mind and what you actually stand for. And I don't know, at being a lyrical master, how do you feel like when you write your lyrics? What provokes you to write certain lyrics?
Mostly the beat.
So you manifest it through the music.
I manifest it through the beat. Like, I mean,
But how do you know what you're talking about? Like, the subject matter.
For me, it's all the beat. It's all the beat. But you could get it from different ways. Like I recently am doing this song with this chick named Caitlin. She's from Australia, and I sent her a beat, and she sent me back a chorus with the beat that I sent her. So basically, I wrote nothing before it. I wrote everything that had to do with her verse or her chorus, the chorus space that she gave me. So. But mostly, I mean, so that you could draw from many inspirations. You're like, I don't like to draw inspiration from my own personal fucking situation in life. I have done it a couple times. If you check my SoundCloud, soundcloud.com/turtlesoup, there's a couple of songs on there that definitely show exact accounts from my life. But I don't want to make that about everything I spit about, because that in itself just gets tiring. Like I deal with my own life every day, and I deal with my own. The last thing I want to do is fucking think about that while I'm trying to rap, which is part of an escape. You know what I mean? So what I talk about mostly in my raps is just like obvious problems that seem to be ignored in everyday life. A lot of social, political bullshit. I like to do really abstract, obscure word combinations that you'll have to hear a few times to actually fucking oh yeah, that's what he meant. So that's kind of where I go. But songs that I've done, like
this masterpiece, I love this song.
This one is one of my better ones, one of my more popular ones. But
which one is this?
This is Hip Hop Lobster. I sampled it from the B-52's old school song.
I think that's another. See, let's just talk about like that. For example, you recycled something, you reused it. I think that is such an important that represents preservation. Yeah. That supports life. Like you gave the B-52s life again. You're adding life to them by reusing it.
But see, I made it. That's kind of like the same thing with biting in hip hop. Like people be like, "Oh, well, you bit that guitar lick," because basically the only thing I didn't make in this song, if you could hear it, if you could turn up the volume a little bit. The only thing I didn't make was the guitar lick, and I guess the vocals too. I took that from the song, but
doesn't matter.
But if you were to go back, if you were to type in the B-52s and play that shit right now, it would be really, really hard to recognize this, because I pitched it and I slowed it down by like five, way more than half. This was really fast. It was dun 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 dun, so fast, and this is like slow. It's got some drums, a couple pauses.
So yeah, there's definitely a skill into
so it's not like I just copied
something.
It. It's not like I just copy and pasted it over and threw some drums on it. I actually had to slow it down, fit the drums inside of it, find out where I want to put those vocal samples and where I'm gonna switch the beat up here and there.
Nice.
But I mean.
So yeah, I mean, but okay. So as far as the music goes, so what do we hear? We hear, like we were talking about earlier. Did we play the song? Yeah, we did. Like it's very pop music. It's just that da da da. It's club music.
It's almost like a disco vibe.
You know,
the way the beat hits, it's the same. Doom da doom da doom.
Yeah,
da.
yeah.
Same thing over and over. There is no variation really.
Like just to put on a hip hop lobster again. Like da. There's substance in between the bigger parts. In these big pop songs, it's just that duh.
Yeah.
Duh.
Oh, don't hit the dust.
No, sorry. Duh. You know, so there's substance in between. There's build up. There's more dynamic.
There's like half snares and a couple like, because I use a main snare, but then I'll use a secondary snare in between the main the main 4 counts. Boom, bat, boom, bat. So. It gives it a little bounce.
But again, not to knock on that sound. That sounds fine. Like it's club music. What really makes club music bad? Here's why I don't like club music, and I call club music the stuff that sounds like all your mainstream shit that goes da da da. That's called hip hop. The reason I don't like it is because it's called hip hop. It's not what it is, and that's misrepresenting. Like that's not what that is. And also, it doesn't possess any ideologies of hip hop. Hip hop again. Peace, love, unity, having fun, respect. These songs have no respect for other, and it's also other people. You know, caring for other people. You don't. Selflessness is definitely.
There's not a single shred of hip hop in any of those.
Exactly. So these songs are about like how well these rappers are doing and like how well they blow their money off of their first album. Their first album.
What they got.
They have one album. They get so much money from it. Then they blow it all off, and that is the life. You know that's not.
Basically their album is just about them blowing their money.
Exactly. So it's not. Yeah. Exactly. And it's not. And like I'm glad they have a high life. You know,
That's
I don't
great.
have
That's great, and that appeals to certain people, and whatever. But when it's marketed and sold as hip hop, it's kind of like, well, hey, you know, like that's not what hip hop's about.
Yeah.
Hip hop's not about talking down to the community. It's about being with the community, and uplifting the community.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I said before, once you separate yourself from the community, and instead of talking amongst the community, you talk down to the community. That's when it's no longer, I feel, hip hop. Like you're no longer in the circle. You're outside the circle of hip hop, and you're just trying to feed off of that name and energy. I think.
Right.
That's kind of.
Right. No, that makes total sense. Actually, yeah. I mean, I hope that makes sense to the listeners.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it seems pretty straightforward. Like if you're in a circle of community, you have to talk to the circle. Once you start talking down to the circle, then you're no longer inside.
See, that goes along with, I think, you know, hip hop has come a long way in terms of its what they consider their ideologies, because it started off with the lyrics, like a long time, like peace, love, unity, having fun. It started with those 4. Then we're like, well, there's other good ones. There's other necessary, like selflessness, respect. You know, I feel like a broken record. I keep repeating myself, but it's just so like ingrained in me. You know, it's like those 4 words are constantly just being like looped through like. JimmyHat just a shot of tequila, and it's not the greatest thing. So, but yeah, so that's about the music in terms of how it sounds, right? Now, in terms of lyrics, we cover that. You know, what these people talk about is very monotonous and materialistic and selfish ways of life, and that's not what hip hop is about. Call it whatever you want. I mean, there's songs about like taking shit on chickens and like like, you know, it's all good. It sounds good, but like they have their own. You know, if you want to make a song about that under like heavy deathcore, do what you gotta do. Just use this so it doesn't make that beat. Anyway, so like you know, so do what you gotta do, but like that. I mean, maybe hardcore metal possesses that element, but hip hop does not. We do not embrace that type of thing. I wanna like just go into something that happened to me. You know, over the summer, there was a Buddhist monk came over. I don't recall his name, but he was a white guy. He was from Boston, and he came over and he rented he raised money to rent an apartment for a few weeks. I guess a whole month, because that's how it works. But he paid for it, and all he had was these other learning Buddhists, people who were Buddhists and were just seeking knowledge, because there's not a lot of Buddhist temples around. So I went to this thing. My mom took me, and it was her and just all these older women just searching for, you know, light in their lives. And
is that the Japantown?
No, this was not. No? This actually wasn't the East Side, but no, he just rented some janky apartment. It was so bad. You know that area, East Side.
Yeah, I know that.
You guys know East Side.
I know that area of East Side.
You know what? When you talk about that area, you know the area I'm talking about. So he's in this apartment, and I go there, and it's so peaceful. Like outside, like it's so peaceful within this guy's apartment. I literally hear the neighborhood like so vividly from inside, because he keeps the door open. He doesn't like closed doors because he doesn't want to hold himself from the world. Like that's why he said he keeps the door open. So anyway, but it was, you know, every word this Buddhist said was beauty. Just it was so peaceful. Nothing he said, like we say shit, you know, like oh fuck it, like dude.
Oh, yeah.
We have a flavor of angst and violence, and that's just our personality, because our mindset. This guy was so at peace that you heard it in his voice, and it was just beautiful. And anyway, that's when I realized, you know, talking with this guy, he even told me, you know, the soul, the mind in Buddhism is called the fatam. It's and he said, you know, my fatam was like at super, like it was in a good direction. Mm-hmm. You know, he says like, you know, you have your issues that the world has brought upon you. And through like what do you call it, like mindless neglect, like neglect to your mind, you know, you've caused a bit of damage, but it's not irreversible. It's like smoking, he said. And so, and I was just like absolutely moved by all this, and that's when I realized, like, wow, hip hop is my religion. Like everything this guy is saying is in one way or another exactly what all the top hip hop guys are talking about. Like, you know, Ken Swift, Storm. I mean, these are all, I know the legendary breakers, but there's so many others that you know. And so for me, I think it is such a positive thing, and to me it's more of a religion than I ever had. You know, I went to a Christian school when I was, you know, I learned all that, and it never had never had any weight. Do you have any religious?
I mean, I guess if you want to take it on that point, hip hop is, and always will be religion to people who use it the way it should be used. But when it comes to like outside things, like Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism,
the religions,
whatever the fuck religions are.
Scientology.
Yeah, all that ish. I think it's all relevant to how the person uses it. Like you could have a Christian that's the worst person you ever met. And you could have an atheist that's one of the most nicest, kindest people you know.
It's funny how those, when you say that, it sounds like that's contradictory. Like if you said it the other way around, it almost sounds like, oh, you have the nicest Christian you ever met, or the angriest atheist you ever met.
Yeah.
It sounds like, so like, you know, when you pet a cat the right way, that sounds like you're petting the cat the right way. When you say it the other way, it's just like it's funny how that sounds. Anyway, keep going.
Yeah.
I
said it that way on purpose because it's supposed to make a point. Point is that you could have somebody that follows something that that normally would be thought of as an heretic, heinous type of ideology, but it's all about how the person uses it, not exactly what the ideologies of the thing are. I've met some awesome Christians that are cool that I've talked to for the rest of my life, and I've met some Christians that is like, who the fuck, like I just wouldn't associate with them on any level whatsoever. So it's more about the person and how that person manifests their beliefs, rather than the actual beliefs themselves, and also communication within that, because you could say your stance, like Chris told me earlier that someone has issues with the way that I speak and whatnot. But if you don't have the peace of mind to confront that person about your inquiries, then there's no point having those questions anyway, because they're just unanswered thoughts. So when it comes to religion, I don't think nothing about it. I don't have any type of religion affiliation or belief or nothing like that. I have a type of spirituality that could, I have spirituality, one wholeness with earth, just trying to have a positive mind state. Not murder anybody. Yeah. But no, I don't buy into any type of religious.
Well, maybe not religious factions, but I mean, like, one man's religion, he could build his own. Like, that's how I feel I am. Like, I don't have a hip hop temple I can go to. I can't go to any forum about people who follow hip hop as a sincere way of life.
Really, if I had one religion I'd had to pick, it would probably be Japanese porn. That would be the only religion that I would ever subscribe to, is Japanese porn.
Okay. All right. Well, we reached our half-hour mark, and I think I just want to leave it at that. Anything else? Any notes you want to make left? I just want to say that, so I don't know what you guys took away from this video. Maybe it's just a closer look, but future videos are just gonna be about, it's gonna be of this nature. Not, it's not gonna be hip hop related. This is just the first one that's, look at me, how I view things, my lookout on life. So that where I'm coming from in these future videos,
If I'm gonna leave with anything, it's gonna be do what you gotta to get what you want to get, unless it has to,
What am I playing?
Injure, hurt, or, interfere with someone else's deal.
Anyway, this is going up on YouTube. Hopefully you guys can like it and subscribe to it. The whole spiel, how you do the YouTube thing. If you want me to make more videos, honestly, it makes sense.
Comment, subscribe, share, and leave some input on what you would like to see next. We'll cover that ish.
What I actually really want to do is, if you can comment on the video, to tell me what you're about to go do after you watch this video. That'd actually be really interesting.
Yeah, and then maybe we could do a video about what the most.
Maybe you're gonna go get a lobotomy so you can just erase the last 30 minutes.
Exactly. Maybe you want your life back, but you can't get it back. So
now you're stuck with it. So hopefully you're gonna be on track and we got you addicted and hooked on it. So this is PalmWho. Till next week, hopefully.
And the JimmyHat.
Suck it.
That's pretty cool.
Okay, we're still recording.
Yeah. Doesn't matter though.
All right.